welcome to the Sampurna Grand Challenge 2026 Expert Speak webinar. I am Drishti Makijani and I will be your moderator for today. The Sampurna Grand Challenge is an innovation challenge launched in partnership with the Department of Horticulture, Karnataka government. It is designed to identify, support, and scale solutions with the potential of preventing post harvest losses across key commodities within the state. Today's webinar is a part of a series designed to connect innovators, startup, and ecosystem builders with practitioners who've spent their careers working at the intersection of social impact, environmental action, and community development, building on the frontiers of India's agri food systems. To begin today's webinar, may I please now invite Ms. Debjani Samantare, Global Manager at Nutrition Connect, to deliver the welcome address and set the context for today's session. Over to you, Debjani.
Thank you so much, Drishti, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for taking time out from your busy schedules. A warm welcome to all participants, innovators, mentors, partners, and colleagues who joined us today. It is my pleasure to be welcoming you to this Expert Speak session in the series under the Sampurna Grand Challenge 2026. Today's session really brings about is all about a exchange of knowledge, experiences, and practical insights around some critical themes that are helping to shape the narrative around food systems in Karnataka, in India, and beyond. The Sampurna Grand Challenge has been envisioned, therefore, as a platform that helps to encourage bold and locally grounded, scalable innovations that can help to strengthen healthier, safer, and more sustainable food systems. This initiative really builds upon a broader, longer legacy of innovation challenges that GAIN, along with many of its national and international partners, has envisioned and brought about to a reality, driving meaningful change through strong public and private sector collaborations. This has previously taken place in 9 other countries in Asia and Africa. And so, really, through this platform, we try and support innovators, such as many of you, not only in solving real world challenges, but also helping to think through more deeply about scalability, about market reality, about medium and long term impact. Sampurna, the word itself, means whole or complete, and as the name reflects, also the ambition of the initiative. We try and bring together stakeholders across policy, across markets, across public and private sector systems, and across peer of innovators and producers. So the goal really is to strengthen Karnataka's agricultural and horticulture value chains while advancing nutrition, sustainability, and inclusive growth. Partnering on this initiative are GAIN, Nutrition Connect, TTC, ABWCI, Fortuna PR, Active, Krishikalpa, and H2S. Today, especially for the expert speak, you will be hearing an expert, Dr. Nidhi Pundir, SVP Global CSR, HCL Tech, and Director of HCL Foundation. Um, Amongst all partners, we are mostly thankful to the government of Karnataka and the Department of Horticulture for their visionary leadership and support. In particular, our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Shalini Rajneesh, Chief Secretary to the government of Karnataka, and Sagirish Reddy, the Secretary, Department of Horticulture, Government of Karnataka, for their unwavering guidance and encouragement. This initiative, as you know, is connected to the realities of food systems of today, and it focuses not only on innovations that strengthen resilient food systems, but also bring about enterprise development, sustainable livelihoods, and better nutrition outcomes. During the course of the session, you will also hear from many of my learned colleagues, Dr. Parul Soni from TTC, Dr. Bhuvaneshwari from GAIN, Mr. Ajay from TTC, also Mr. Asim from TTC. We are looking forward to a session that will really start with a short deep dive on discussing the components of the Sampurna Grand Challenge and the categories of competition uh, to be taken by Dr. Bhuvneshwari, followed by a fireside chat with Dr. Nidhi Pandhir in conversation with Dr. Parul Soni, followed by an Ask Me Anything session with Dr. Nidhi, where all of you are welcome to ask questions as you feel relevant to the theme, followed by closing thoughts by Dr. Nidhi and any other questions that you have regarding the challenge or any other by the rest of the team answering those questions. So we're looking forward to a very interactive and active participation session from all of you. And good luck to all of you, and hope you enjoy today's session as well. So over to you, Drishti. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deep Johnny. We now know what an exciting 1 hour we have ahead of us. Request all our participants to make the most of it. Now is the time we will hear more about the challenge itself. What are the challenge categories? Who can apply? What's in it for the winners? What do you expect? What are the timelines? And anything and everything related to the challenge. And to help us understand the challenge better, may I now please invite Dr. Bhuvneshwari Balasubramaniam, Country Director, GAIN India.
Thank you, Drishti. I am presenting my slide. Let me just take a minute. Yeah, perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome to the Sampurna Grand Challenge webinar. We're very excited to have you all here join us. And we're also grateful to Dr. Nidhi for joining us in the fireside chat and to be part of this challenge journey with all of us. I am going to take a few minutes to help you understand the context of the whole challenge and where we are right now. We do know that Karnataka is a horticulture powerhouse, and by that we mean that they have a significant footprint in the larger narrative of horticulture production nationally, given their agroclimatic diverse zones and the array of horticulture crops that they produce. We all are familiar with the high value crops such as coffee, pomegranate, mango, grapes, etc. And we also understand that this influences or impacts positively on millions of small and marginal farmers who depend on horticulture for their livelihoods. Additionally, when we looked at the 7 priority crops that we're focusing for this challenge, we understand that on an annual basis, on a 4-year cumulative value, of these 7 crops is at about 88,000 crore, and that's just those 7 crops. But it's not. There are challenges across the board, and that's something that we wanted to understand, and we are very grateful for the vision and the support that we are receiving from the government of Karnataka, wherein we largely want to identify solutions at scale for post-harvest to market linkages across horticulture crops. And when we look at where does the loss actually happen, and it happens across the value chain, right from harvesting to sorting, grading, storage, transport, and it arriving at wholesale retail and at the processing level. So it's safe to say that no single stage is without loss, and this affects cumulatively what is being produced by farmers and what is being sold. Now, some of the key challenges, many of you listening to this are also already experts in your field. So without going too deep into it, we do have cold chain gaps, limited processing capacity, fragmented logistics that affects how market goods travel to market and how much of it is wasted as a result of it, and exposure as a result of poor logistics. You have information and market gaps that often results in distress sales, especially during harvest when there's a bumper harvest. Weak sorting and grading, and of course, given that more than 80% of our farmers are smallholder farmers in India, there is a significant vulnerability for the smallholder farmer and farmer producer organizations. Now, the cost is not just about the food that is lost, it is also a loss of income. It is an opportunity for nutrition that is denied, which means what is produced is not in the same quality when it arrives to the market, and that women bear the burden of it worse, because when it affects loss of income for the earner, which is very often we know that women are in the post-harvest occupation or at the harvesting level. This affects bottom line in terms of what's available for food at home. And finally, of course, there's significant market volatility or instability resulting in losses as a result of distress sales, etc. A quick overview of what is being produced across Karnataka. We understand based on the different regions. Here's a quick map a quick shout out to our team at TTC, Asim, Ajay, and others who helped in creating this detailed analysis that looked at how can we map this region in terms of what is being produced. And we see that, the Kalyan Karnataka, the northmost, is famous for tomato and onion cluster. The North Karnataka region, onion, grape, raisins, and pomegranate. Central Karnataka is onion and pomegranate. And, the rest of it all is there. I'm not going to go in detail, but there are significant quantum of production of specific crops, especially horticulture crops, that the different regions of Karnataka specializes in. And we wanted to understand how do we identify the key challenge categories so that innovations are relevant to the crop and to the region. And for this, our colleagues at TTC helped us with a detailed gap assessment that helped us identify what are the large crops that are being, the major crops that are being produced by the state, and how do we understand the loss that is incurred at every stage of the value chain, assess what that loss is, and identify critical hotspots that will require solutions or innovations. And hence, this informs as to what the challenge categories have to be. That is largely how the gap assessment was done. So it was a rigorous exercise that we had done. So the 7 priority crops that we've identified for this challenge include onion, mango, banana, tomatoes, grapes, pomegranate, and pineapple. And we do see, we'll talk more about the different value chains, but largely at the farm level, you have harvesting, sorting, packaging, and then you move into the storage level at both market, godowns at the market level as well, and in transit, the wholesale retail value chain levels, processing, and transport. These were largely the value chain stages that were explored. And we have a quick snapshot of what stages for what crops are there significant losses that have been identified. Now, quick snapshot of it. We understand that for onions, the key loss stages are at harvesting, at farm storage level, and at sorting as a result of improper curing, poor storage solutions, lack of field level grading equipment, and handling damages. For mangoes, it's at harvesting, sorting, and retail stages. So we have mechanical damage from stick harvesting, weather stress, pests, and then you have price volatility, processing infrastructure limitations, and transport delays. For mango, it's at collection, sorting, grading, and transport. Sorry, at banana, the more volatile ones in terms of its perishability very often is due to poor handling, ripening, and limited ripening and storage facilities, infection, fruit cracking, knife cuts during packaging or handling, bruising, latex staining, and a good 38% of them are lost at grading alone due to improper handling, and others factors include pest and disease incidents. For tomatoes, there's limited processing and infrastructure and handling damage that is compounded by seasonal gluts and diseases. In grapes, we have been reported about grape mold, moisture loss, no refrigerated vans, limited cold chain access in the product producing districts. For pomegranates, you have challenges that include disease, shriveling, wilting, inadequate storage, and non-standard packaging for long-distance transport, and lack of real-time market information. Finally, for pineapple, it's very often around harvesting and transport, especially when the harvesting is in markets that are distant, and hence there is a collapse in shelf life from 12 days to 3 to 4 days during transit. Why are we saying all of this? Because we want solutions for our challenges that would address these challenges. There is a compendium that will be available at the Sampurna website, which will provide a detailed information of the gap assessment findings and the kind of challenges that we are incurring as on date that has been reported through this gap assessment. Now, moving on to the larger solution that we are looking at would address farmer livelihoods, would address nutrition and food security, and of course, at the economy and at the policy level as well. Why a grand challenge format? Because it like what Debjani was mentioning, we've done this in 10 other countries where we have identified innovative solutions that have the potential to scale. Through Sampurna, we are calling in multi-sectoral partners. We have Dr. Nidhi with us today, and we've had a series of our webinars earlier as well, where we've called partners who are leading the FPC revolution, your private sector, NGOs, academia, and research, and others. So it's a multi-sectoral platform that enables us to find effective solutions. At the root of it, what we want to look at is how can we transform FPOs into MSME grade business maturity within the Karnataka agrarian ecosystem. We also recognize there are local solutions that are domestically available within different regions of India. We would love to hear your ideas that you have implemented elsewhere that could be replicated in Karnataka. There's a strong government backing to scale pathways. And of course, we're looking at evidence-driven design. So finally, what are the challenge categories? Of course, we start with what is the post-harvest value chain solution. From on-farm handling, sorting, grading, cooling, and mechanization. If your solution reduces spoilage, extends shelf life, and improves product quality, then you would apply under this category. Sustainable packaging innovation, including biodegradable packing, reusable crates, freshness indicators, etc. These are all something that would extend the shelf life, would reduce bruising and damages to the product, and it also includes smart and active packaging solution. Efficient logistics optimization, including cold chain, last mile transport, and route optimization and load matching solutions. Community-led aggregation and enterprise. If your model includes FPO models, collection centers, and collective branding and individual champions, then largely what we are looking at is how do we reduce individual transaction costs and losses by leveraging or strengthening farmer collectives. Access to finance is a major factor that has come in very strongly. So anything around FPO credit, warehouse receipt finance, digital lending, and insurances are solutions that could help reduce financial working capital shortages, or in asset purchases, etc., that reduce food loss is a category that we are keen to look for solutions. Digital platforms that are more multi-stakeholder platforms that enable predictive analytics and end-to-end traceability that helps provide a single window for users to inform on market linkage and decision making. Finally, circular economy and loss to value solutions. So by this, we mean how do you look at value addition, such as dehydration, value-added products generated, and of course, the larger idea of loss to value, which includes, your biogas, your composting, your biochar, anything that has a potential for byproducts to become commercially viable solutions is also something we're looking at. So this enables recycling, upcycling of horticulture byproducts, thus providing additional livelihood for farmers and farmer producer organizations. Those are our seven categories and then the seven crops. Where are we in terms of activities and timelines? We're closing on 15th of June, so there's not a lot of time left. We have literally 2 weeks. So the application window is currently open. We will be sharing a QR code for you to access the link of the website where you can go ahead and apply. There is a long listing process that will go on till the 22nd of June, and then a first round of shortlisting that would take place for the next couple of weeks until 10th July. We have a group of experts who would be assessing the shortlisted solutions, and there will be a mentorship that will be provided to the shortlisted innovations for them to hone it and make the pitch sharper for them to be then submitted for the final stage, where we intend to have the final award or recognition of winning solution across the seven categories by the 15th of August. So for those of you who feel your innovation fits this larger narrative, we would love to have your ideas come in by 15th of June. So what's in it for the winners and who can apply? Clearly, we are looking at startups, agri-tech companies, agri-enterprises, FPOs, any of you who believe you have solutions that could be scaled up to address food loss, horticulture loss at scale. You might not be working on that particular crop at that point in time, but if you think, let's say, your value chain solution for a particular fruit is applicable for a tomato in Karnataka, then you're also encouraged to apply for this solution. We do provide, we're looking at 7 winners, one for each category, and then there is a winning prize of up to 50 lakhs. And you have other benefits apart from a cash prize. There's visibility and recognition. There's opportunity for mentorship, networking, and exchange of ideas and synergies. And finally, I want to leave you with the QR code here. We will be putting this up at a later point in time, but we are excited to see how the opportunity for us to collaborate together, and we'd love to have you apply for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Bhuvneshwari. We now come to the heart of this session. This is the fireside chat. It's going to be 20-25 minutes of great conversation with our guest speaker for today, Dr. Nidhi Pundir and Dr. Parul Soni. Dr. Nidhi Pundir is a Senior Vice President Global CSR for the HCL Technologies and the Director for the HCL Foundation, which is the CSR arm of the HCL Tech India. Dr. Nidhi holds more than 27 years of experience in human rights and environmental action at national and international levels, and she has strategized and executed programmatic frameworks aligned to global sustainable development goals, the SDGs as we know them, across various roles, across the hats that she's worn over these years. Dr. Pundir holds a doctorate in public health management from IHMR University and an MPhil in health system management from BITS Pilani. She brings to today's webinar a perspective on how large institutions are driving meaningful and impactful change on ground and what it takes to build programs or solutions that create a lasting change especially for the vulnerable communities. And joining her, as I have an honor of introducing him, Dr. Parul Soni, founder of EBWCI and global partner at Think Through Consulting. He has been an architect for the Sampurna platform. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Drishti. It's such a pleasure to be today with all of you, and also to welcome Dr. Nidhi Pundir, who's a good friend, and also we have worked together at earlier. So I always feel honored that Nidhi is with us today and will be speaking today on this. And this topic of food loss is very close to her heart, and also the way she has done a lot of work on with FPOs and also with organizations as such. So Nidhi, if you can hear me, there is, I think, some.
Yeah, I can
Ni-
hear you, Parul. I think something to do with the
Okay.
camera. It's on from my
Oh,
side,
Okay,
but I'm
great.
yes.
Yeah. So Nidhi, as I know that you have worked on this food loss with FPOs and also with organizations which are working on these issues as such. Um, what do you and how do you see that if we are working with FPOs and also on with farmers, how should we work with them, and what is your experience on working with these institutions and startups who are working on food loss and food waste?
Right. So thanks, Parul, for that question. And post this, I'll try to join back. Maybe it's because of the field network. The camera is not available, but very pertinent webinar, first of all, and I think extremely important uh, subject that we are dealing with. First of all, let me thank Government of Karnataka, the Department of Horticulture, as well as I think all the partners there, GAIN, TTC, everyone coming together on this very important topic, which we often think that this is something which doesn't disturb a country like ours, where we usually talk about hunger, we talk about poverty, we work with communities where there is malnutrition issue. I think first of all, the knowledge that we are actually a food surplus country, that by itself is missing uh, with the general people out there. So I think the Sampoorn Grand Challenge, the way you are bringing that knowledge out in public domain, is super इम्पॉर्टेंट एट दिस स्टेज. बहुत ही ज़रूरी है कि लोगों तक ये बात पहुँचे कि हमारे देश में उत्पादन ज़्यादा हो रहा है. आई थिंक दैट
Correct.
बाय itself is a big piece of information which is coming out. While I'll answer all those questions, I think it's the systemic problem that we are dealing with at this stage. That first of all, why surplus production when we are talking about so many other things, including the kind of seed that we are using, including the kind of fertilizer which kind of gets into the soil in order for us to have the surplus production. I think there are lots of whys which really need to be answered, which I'll come back quite quickly. But I think the fundamental issue here is one, the misconception that it is the logistics, it is the storage which is an issue, but it is basically the larger systemic challenge that we are talking about, that why the focus is on certain crops, why other crops are being neglected, why we are actually not able to educate the farmer what is exactly needed, the consumption versus production pattern that we often kind of the information goes missing. When it comes to the sciences of management, it is always about the demand and supply. So are we missing something here? Are we not able to give our farmer the fundamental information around the demand and supply? So let me stop here, Parul, and let me try to
Yeah.
join back. Maybe that solves the camera problem.
Yeah.
But I'll come back very quickly
Yeah,
on this.
please. Yeah. So जैसा निधि जी ने बोला कि हम ये इनिशिएटिव है फूड लॉस पे, तो एक तो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात ये है कि फार्मर लेवल पे जो फार्म गेट लेवल है उस पे हम किस तरीके से क्या हम टेक्निकल या फिर कुछ ऐसा वैल्यू चेन में काम करें जिससे कि हमारा फूड लॉस कम हो. अभी तक हमारे जितने भी वेबिनार्स हुए हैं उसमें कई एक्सपर्ट्स ने बहुत काम किया है एफपीओस के साथ, और बहुत उसमें जो इनिशिएटिव्स हैं, चाहे वो स्टार्टअप के माध्यम से हो या फिर एग्रीटेक के माध्यम से हो, गवर्नमेंट के माध्यम से हो, बहुत लेवल पे इस पे काम हुआ है. बट रीजन ये है कि फिर भी अगर हम फूड लॉस को देखें तो 22 से 32% के बीच में 22 to 33% के बीच में हमारा ये हॉर्टिकल्चर लॉस है। और हॉर्टिकल्चर जो लॉस है वो लॉस है क्योंकि हमारी जो वैल्यू चेन है उसमें इश्यूज हैं। अगर आप देखें, चाहे उसको हम कटाई की बात करें, उसको स्टोरेज करने का, उसको हम चाहे वो जो उनके जो स्टैंडर्ड बॉक्सेस हैं या फिर हमारे पास जो क्रेट्स हैं, उनको किस तरीके से इस्तेमाल करना है और उस क्रेट्स के माध्यम से किस तरीके से लॉजिस्टिक्स करना है, या फिर एम्बिएंट टेम्परेचर की जो हम बात करते हैं कि हम हमेशा कोल्ड स्टोरेज की बात करते हैं, तो कभी कभी हॉर्टिकल्चर में जो है वो हॉर्टिकल्चर में हमको कोल्ड स्टोरेज नहीं चाहिए, कभी कभी एम्बिएंट टेम्परेचर चाहिए। फॉर एग्जांपल अगर हम अनियन की बात करें, प्याज की बात करें, तो प्याज में इतना ज्यादा हमको वो कोल्ड स्टोरेज की जरूरत नहीं है, पर हमको उस स्टोरेज की जरूरत है जहां पर हमारे को ये ह्यूमिडिटी पे काम करें। तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो अभी इस व्यवस्था में काफी कुछ हो सकता है, और इसी बारे में, इसी संदर्भ में हमने काफी अपने टेक्निकल लोगों से बात करी, और हमने ये भी गवर्नमेंट के जो प्रतिष्ठित लोग हैं उनसे बात करी। और इसलिए ये सारा कुछ जब हमने ये ग्रैंड चैलेंज को लॉन्च किया, तो ग्रैंड चैलेंज और संपूर्ण प्लेटफॉर्म को जब लॉन्च किया, तो वही थॉट प्रोसेस यही था कि कैसे हम एप्लीकेशंस हमारी और जो सबमिशंस हैं वो आए, लोग अप्लाई करें और इसका महत्वपूर्ण फायदा लें, जो हमारा ये चैलेंज है। और इसमें व्यवस्था में बहुत सारे काम हैं जो कि हो सकते हैं जब आप एप्लीकेशन भी करते हैं, जैसे दृष्टि ने बताया, भुवनेश्वरी ने बताया कि कैसे आप और अप्लाई करने के बाद में आप उस पूरे चैलेंज को लेके आप उसको करेंगे। तो these are things which we are now talking about and we will be using this whole ये हम इसको संपूर्ण चैलेंज या प्लेटफॉर्म को हम यूज करेंगे। तो ये थॉट प्रोसेस है। आई थिंक निधि यू आर बैक, आप वापस आ गए, बट आई थिंक कैमरा का या तो शटर में कुछ मेरे ख्याल से प्रॉब्लम है, आई थिंक जो लैपटॉप के ऊपर है, अगर लैपटॉप यूज कर रहे हैं तो वो है। सो रीजन, अब दूसरा अगर मैं प्रश्न आपके साथ कर पाऊं।
Yes,
निधि
we
आप,
have to. I think
हाँ,
we have to go ahead in a podcast
कोई
mode.
प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
Sorry.
अच्छा, मैं दूसरा जो हमारा क्वेश्चन है वो ये है कि जैसे यू हैव वर्क विद सो मेनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन विच आर नॉट फॉर प्रॉफिट भी हो सकता है, फॉर प्रॉफिट भी हो सकता है, कई स्टेजेस पे आपने काम किया है। तो इसमें फूड लॉस और फूड वेस्ट की जब बात करें तो स्टेजेस बहुत सारी हैं, बट उनमें किस तरीके से आपका क्या, व्हाट इज योर एक्सपीरियंस एंड व्हाट इज योर, आप ये क्या बोलना चाहेंगे, इनको क्या बताना चाहेंगे, किस तरीके से ये हमारे साथ जुड़ के काम करें?
So I think Parul, as I mentioned, that one is the fact that we have the surplus, and the other side is the larger, the demand side of it. तो अगर हम डिमांड की बात करें, यहाँ हमारा फोकस 7-8 क्रॉप्स पर है. So if we really look at the overall, how the products have to reach market, etc. So we often say कि ज़रूरत नहीं है शायद infrastructure या, but I would honestly say that there is a heavy need to also invest in infrastructure, because perishability is a problem on table. ऐसा नहीं है कि perishability समस्या नहीं है. How do we really store food for a longer time? I think that's one. The second part, as I said, to connect the demand and supply gap, which is super important in this case, because शायद डिमांड हमें मैंगो पल्प की है, हम मैंगो की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, शायद हमें ड्राइड टोमेटो को एक्सपोर्ट करने की ज़रूरत है, हम नहीं बचा पा रहे हैं एक भी दिन उस क्रॉप को. बट हाउ डज इट ऑल हैपन? वो जब तक हम अपना द MSME क्लस्टर्स की जो हमने बात की, जब तक हम अपने बिजनेस मॉडल्स को वहाँ स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं करेंगे, जब तक हमारा कम्युनिटी, द फार्मर्स, जो हमारा किसान है, आई वुड से कि महिला किसान का भी एक बहुत बड़ा योगदान है. दे रियली अंडरस्टैंड द फूड सिस्टम्स मच बेटर, पर क्या हम उनको इन्वॉल्व करके चल रहे हैं? क्या हमारे जितने भी आपके चैलेंजेस में भी जब मैं हम देखेंगे कि किस तरह से आपका चैलेंज है, तो आर वी सीइंग फार्मर एज एन इक्वल पार्टनर इन दिस एंटायर इन्वेस्टमेंट, और वी आर जस्ट सीइंग देम एज वन ऑफ द प्रोड्यूसर्स? आई थिंक वहाँ कहानी बदल जाती है, क्योंकि जब किसान हमारे साथ जुड़कर उस समस्या के ऊपर विचार करेंगे और उसमें अपने आप को एक पार्टनर की तरह देखेंगे, तो वो शायद एक एंड टू एंड बिजनेस मॉडल बनता है। क्योंकि बात वहीं ख़त्म नहीं होती है कि वी हैव प्रोड्यूस्ड अ लॉट ऑफ टोमेटो और मैंगो और पोमग्रेनेट, बट बात वहाँ पे ख़त्म होती है कि वो मार्केट तक कैसे पहुँचा, क्या हमें उतने क्रॉप की फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल ज़रूरत है या नहीं है? आई थिंक दैट्स अनदर बिग असेसमेंट दैट वी रियली नीड टू look into. But do we see it as a livelihood solution, or do we just see it as a production solution for the country? तो वो एक बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी आ रही है, हम सबके ऊपर आ रही है कि किस तरह से किसान अपना जो योगदान है वो बियॉन्ड जस्ट प्रोडक्शन देखें, द एंड टू एंड सोल्यूशन। जो हम बैकवर्ड और फॉरवर्ड लिंकेज की बात करते हैं, are we understanding it right? I think that is something which is extremely important when we talk about theory of change in this entire, I would say,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सही आपने, हाँ निधि बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं। आई थिंक ये मेन जो इशू वही है कि हाँ, हाउ शुड वी रियली लुक एट, जैसे किसान है, हाउ टू टेक दैट एज अ पार्टनर, और दूसरा ये हिस्सेदारी की बात करें, और हिस्सेदारी में इन्वेस्टमेंट उतना होना चाहिए जिससे कि जो क्रॉप है, क्रॉप को भी हम ये सोचें कि क्रॉप अगर जमीन पे पड़ती है तो भी वो लॉस है। तो कई बार क्या होता है, ये जैसे आपकी नेचुरल, जैसे आपको हवा चली तो भी किसान का नुकसान होगा कि भाई जो पेड़ हैं वो फ्लैट हो गए। अगर राजस्थान का ही आप परिस्थिति लें तो बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं, वहां पे पाला आ जाता है, बहुत सारी चीजें हो जाती हैं, आप उसी संदर्भ में हैं। तो दोज आर थिंग्स व्हिच वी कैन रियली लुक एट from that perspective as such. So I think what we will do is, I know of the time and the whole thing. I want because Srishti will also ask the last question, because there are some questions that the audience is asking. So I will request Srishti to take over from here. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Nidhi, for joining us. I think Drishti is joining us again, and she has the last question because a lot of people are asking questions, so she's coming to it. Over to you.
I think what we can really do is we can probably take a 2-minute break from Dr. Nidhi's session, and we can just quickly move to any questions that our participants might have for the Sampurna team. So if we can have the Sampurna team, and in that meanwhile we can have the technical things sorted. So this is your time to ask any questions that you might have related to the challenge, whether you can apply, what is the right category for you, all of those questions. I think this is your time to ask. I see some comments around English. So today's session was a mix of English and Hindi. We have sessions where we beforehand kind of make sure to convey what language the session will be in. Again, don't worry if you missed out on something. This is not the only session. This is a part of a series. We have another one coming up on the 4th of June, which will be in collaboration with Anveshna. The links for it will also be shared with everybody joining in today shortly. Any questions? Please feel free to ask. Okay, so I see a question. Can we have Mr. Ajay Pandey join us? Mr. Asim, if he's there.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
I can read the question.
Yes, sir.
Can applicants submit solutions across multiple themes, or is participation limited to a single theme? So participation is not limited to any particular theme. However, uh, if an applicant feels that out of these 7 themes, the first theme, it kind of covers the entire value chain. So if they feel that most of their initiative is towards a particular theme, then they can apply within that theme. If it is more suited to logistics, or if it is more suited to uh, the, uh, the market linkages, then they can look for those particular themes. Otherwise, they can apply in theme number 1. What are the
We have a bunch of questions. The next one is,
going on?
yes, what are the key evaluation parameters that the jury will consider while assessing our submissions?
Okay, so there are there are few, in fact. One of the major thing is, uh, we would look at the replication. It could be from Karnataka and it could be from outside of Karnataka, but we will be looking at replication in taking up that solution to scale in Karnataka, uh, on those 7 crops that we have mentioned. So that is one critical area that we will be looking at, and also scalability. So whether the solution or the innovation can be scaled up. So that is one of the major criteria that the evaluation will look at. In fact, as part of the overall evaluation process, we will have mentors. Once we have done the shortlisting, there will be some mentorship that will be provided, and then based on that, the final applications will be selected.
Right. I think we have the next question. Does the solution need to be fully developed and deployment ready, or can it be 50-60 complete and still be eligible?
So the idea here is to have a proof of concept. If the solution has been deployed somewhere else and it has been proven to be successful, then we will consider it. But we are not looking at a prototype, or we are not just looking at a theoretical solution. So the whole focus of this is something that can be easily deployed, or that can be deployed in a fast moving fashion and is scalable.
Right. We will take one more question and then we will move back to the fireside chat and then come back again for all of these questions. So, guys, don't worry, all your questions will get answered. The next question is, can early stage startups participate, including startups that are less than a year old?
Yeah, I mean, early stage startups can participate. Again, the focus is on the solutions, whether the solution has been is ready for deployment, and whether we have a proof of concept.
Perfect. I think we will take a break from the FAQ around the challenge itself and we will move to Dr. Nidhi's session. Can we have Dr. Nidhi? Thank you so much, ma'am. And is Dr. Soni here in the room? Let's have him also on stage and continue the conversation with him. And I think in the meantime, sir is joining. I think there's one question that I think me and a lot of other budding entrepreneurs today in this stream have. And that is, when we are talking about post-harvest loss, when we look at the challenge, it seems to be pretty massive and all of us are trying to build in this space. What, according to you, is the next big opportunity when it comes to food systems, where young entrepreneurs can really build and there is potential for massive scale?
So I think this is again an area of massive opportunities. If we look at the subcontinent of India, and if we were to compare it, let's say, with some of the developed agroeconomy spaces, while I would still rate India at a much, much higher level when it comes to a lot of production, say paddy, and I mean, of course, we're talking about certain crops in this segment, but then I think there is a big answer when we start looking at the sustainability part. And when I say sustainability, it is not just the production, the surplus, but how that production is happening. So, increasingly, while entrepreneurs or people who are going to apply for this challenge, they really need to look at the entire cycle of food systems, not only from the point of view of that, okay, so many kgs and so many tons of production, but exactly how that production is happening. And I think that is where jury should be or would be giving a lot of weightage. The couple of things which I really want to put on table here is that India is also an extremely water stressed subcontinent. So all this crop which is produced, it is not produced just from the soil. I mean, we are actually using a whole lot of groundwater for production. So the models which would have a proof of concept or a theory of change where we are able to save groundwater and we are able to use methods which use less water, I think that's something which definitely has a much higher weightage when we look at the production in totality. The second is, do we also conserve soil when we do this production? Because the surplus is a clear indication that somewhere we are exploiting our soil way too faster than we should be. I don't know if you're aware, but we are actually not left with any soil, which is going to really sustain our generations to be, or for that matter, us. And this surplus is clear indication that there is a need to actually stop, because it's anyways going waste. So can we not really rationalize the production itself in the first place and ensure that the soil is also reclaimed at the same rate at which we are producing today? Because this production is not going to happen even 1 or 2 years later. The third is how organic the whole thing is, how the fertilizers are being pushed into our soil, and then the water stream. So food what comes on table, or food which we see growing, be it mangoes or pomegranate or tomatoes, or all the food that we are talking about which eventually is going waste, how that part is happening. So we are actually looking at also the fertilizer through our water stream which is getting into the water sources, the soil, and there is a component about human health, which is an animal health, which is directly correlated. I mean, if you look at the count of the bees which are just non-existent, if there are no bees, there's no pollination, there's no organic production in future. So it's the overall cycle of climate change, overall impact that this production has. I think few examples I really would want to give from our rural development programs such as Samuday that we have been implementing for almost a decade, where farmers have been aggregated in such a way that they really understand the ecosystems of food as well as production around it. They have been able to form their own the I would say the FPOs, which are really more, I would say, they understand the system, and they are able to really regulate the production beyond just economic gains. It's also how do we really bring in the MSME there, and how do we really create multiple cropping patterns which actually help the soil to reclaim itself, rather than a monoculture or rather than a monocrop pattern which actually fails in the long run for the farmer. Then we have nature-based solutions which we are able to implement through our another program called Harit, where we are looking at recharging the water and really understanding the overall biodiversity patterns around it, which in turn would then kind of feed into the food systems. In our HCL Tech grant rural development programs, again, where there are examples like we have grants where our partners have just looked at how natural pollination by conserving bees could actually enhance the production of mangoes and some other crops, which in turn are much longer term solutions. So I think when this grand challenge and when the jury looks at various aspects of it's just not the surplus that we need to deal with, it's the how part that we deal with. Now, if the surplus is already there, what do we do with it? I think
Right.
that's the what we are talking about. And that is something where surely, the infrastructure, the ability to conserve the food without using chemicals, because we are also becoming beyond diabetic capital of the world, we are also becoming cancer capital of the world, and there are a lot of one health, as we talk about it, components. So it's in totality that we really need to be looking at. It's not the long term gains that we are talking about for the farmer. It's not the short term gain that we are talking about, it's the long term gain for everyone that we are talking about. And I think it's a very meaningful initiative by the government of Karnataka, which has really set many minds thinking. And it would need more than one kind of experts to be looking at it. Yeah.
I think one thing really important is that looking at a more holistic kind of approach, and one thing that I think is really important for anybody building in this space is to also look at the natural capital and the cost at which you're building whatever it that is that you're building, whatever solution that you're building. I think more often than not, natural capital, or how, I mean, the kind of um, extent our solutions or technology is having an impact on the environment, is more often than not an afterthought. But now I think it has to be the key piece in the design itself. And with climate change becoming a more bigger reality, or a more stronger reality that we're living in, this has to be the key around which solutions are really built. So I think that's something all of us need to kind of keep in mind, and definitely the jury while they're evaluating solutions. I think one aspect that I would also like to bring in here is gender, both from farmer and from an entrepreneurial lens. um, about, you very beautifully mentioned that how women understand food systems, women farmers understand food systems better, and also taking a step further from there, women entrepreneurs building in this space. So what is something that you would like for, I mean, the ecosystem to think about when we talk about giving women that space of building in the food systems at large?
So I think the question here is that women, there's no question about giving them a space. They're a part of the system. I mean, first thing is let's understand that when it comes to indigenous food, when it comes to understanding the food wastage by itself, I think women really understand it way too better, because of their overall involvement in also their nursing, and the overall ecosystem, and the whole contribution that women farmers make in production. I think that itself is way beyond, and I don't think we have really economized that aspect. So when I said the MSME model, or when I said the women-led collectives, when we talk about SHGs, it's also the banking ecosystem being geared towards understanding that we really need to have a place for women-led. I can give you a few examples where we have these. We are working with 100 startups in Tamil Nadu, or we are working with whole lot of collectives which are women led completely, and where we've been able to link with institutions like ISBs to prepare these startups for a business model or a business pitch, and where we have come across already, I mean, it's just about 8 to 9 months in the challenge, and we already have women led startups who've been able to not only produce highly nutritious packaged food which is totally indigenous, and the preservation technique is totally natural, where the high protein diet is coming out from these, which is the demand right now. So when I said that it is also about understanding the demand and supply, it is also about understanding the business models, it is what exactly we need, and having that pitch and the voice in very, very scientific and educated ways to be transferred as a skill. So it is not just about production here we are talking about, it is about totally in a new way of understanding through skilling them. So in this particular industry, there is a big need for skilling. While lots has happened, I think agriculture has been one of the most advanced industries, so as to say, and the revolution has been going on for years together. But then Unfortunately, we've only focused on surplus.
Correct.
I would reiterate the how part of it. The how part of it, step by step part of it, of course, the gender transformative approaches. Is it equally empowering for the women? Do they really understand their economic contribution, their physical contribution into it? Is it something that they are able to then show it as their savings? Are they able to collectivize themselves around? Do they even understand what is coming, what is the yield? The other very important aspect of it, especially in the context of the states that we are talking about, or in the larger context, it is in India, is also about the land rights.
Right.
So does she even have any right on the land from where all this? And when it comes to small and marginal farmer, I think right now we could be talking about perhaps the big farmers who have a production surplus, but then there is a huge segment of people out there who are also small and marginal farmers, and of which there could be a considerable portion where women don't even have any right anywhere. So from legal to economic to the whole cycle of empowerment, there is a whole lot of work which needs to go in. So I'll only say that there is definitely a need to promote and support women-led collectives in this space, because they surely understand the larger the food consumption pattern, as well as how to really preserve food and conserve food much better.
Right. I think that was a very like holistic perspective. That they are the ones who've been at the center of the food systems, but they are the ones who have kind of not found space or voice because of structural challenges, be it land rights, be it the setup, the societal setup in which they are often, the afterthought, or they have caregiving responsibilities, and in a lot of ways they've been kind of confined to that, and now um, actively giving them the center stage to kind of take charge and make decisions and build in not just this space but any space at large. You were also mentioning about how there is a lot of work that's been done in this space, but all in small pilots. Nothing's been able to scale. I would like to pick on that question and ask you if you could give us what are some mistakes that solutions, programs, or startups end up making that make that kind of leave their solutions at a pilot stage and not necessarily, I mean, or are a barrier in scale up. What's that one or two mistakes you see repeatedly being made?
So I think pilots are kind of necessary, but usually what happens is that the end-to-end testing of an idea, we should all understand that pilots are just a part of it. So
Right.
whenever we plan for something, it's also about the resource planning that we do behind an idea, and that is where the fundamental mistake is that we think only up to the pilot stage. So that's the fundamental, and that's where a lot of good ideas come and people get excited around it, and then some pilot happens, and by then
Right.
lot of things change. Also, I have seen a whole lot of initiatives being taken by enthusiastic officers, enthusiastic, there's a political will behind something, but development take asks for a much longer commitment, long-term commitment. If we are talking about all these ideas today, each one of these ideas is going to take minimum 3 to 5 years, even for it to come to the ground. So it's also the people behind it. So I think one really needs to understand that there is a time window which everything would, so that also needs to be locked. And I always say that scaling up happens only when there is a committed and a passionate, but more importantly, a long term committed team behind any scaling up. So today, if some of us are coming together for this, we need to stay committed at least for a certain period of time, including the the government and the non-government and the academia and the whole think tank body, because at the end of the day, by the time it reaches the farmer and by the time they get involved, because the biggest stakeholder in this entire exercise is going to be the farmer. they're going to change certain practices. There is going to be behavioral change which is going to happen. So that's another important aspect. Pilot could be short term, but scaling up is long term. That's the other. The other part of it is the behavioral change itself needs to be owned by the practitioner, who is the most important stakeholder in this entire exercise. So the more we do the exercise bottom up, I think lot of it gets resolved. One thing which goes wrong, especially in the kind of challenge that we are talking about, is that there is going to be an economic aspect to it. And unless we really not take care of it right from the beginning, what is in it for me? And farmer is very much aware about their economic rights at this stage. They're quite aware about and that's why there is surplus production. I mean, if we look at it, so I think pilots really need to take that part into account. And the moment there's an economic gain in any proposal, it automatically scales up. But the important part here is that, is it nature based? Is it something that is not going to impact the health negatively? Is it something which is going to really lead to water conservation, soil conservation? Initially it will take a lot of push. It might take subsidy model as well, but eventually in the long run, everybody would understand that this is what works for it. So it is going to take some level of deeper level commitment. It's not something which is very easy to shift that quickly.
So I think couple of things that I take from this is that, one, you have to be in it for the long term. You have to stress test your solutions and think and look at the larger picture when you're building. Think ahead in time, and most importantly, build solutions not just for the farmers, but build it with them, make them a part of it. Because if they are a part of it and they have clear gains that they know they will get out from a solution that's coming to them, the adoption of it becomes way more quicker. So I think it was an exciting fireside chat, and now we come to the Ask Me Anything, where we will be opening the floor to all our participants listening to this webinar to ask any questions to Dr. Nidhi about their solutions, about what they're building, anything else that you'd want to ask. This section will not answer questions related to the Sampurna Grand Challenge, but these are more towards Dr. Nidhi, maybe reflections on her experience, any other thoughts that you'd want anything else you'd want to pick her brain on. This is your time to ask. And I see a couple of questions around the challenge itself, and not really around it. I think we'll wait for a minute or two till the time everyone gets to ask. I think we'll also open the floor to any of our panelists. If any of our panelists, any of our team members have any questions for Dr. Nidhi, more than happy to take it up. I think we don't see any questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to hand it over to you. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really exciting having this conversation with you, and I'm sure all of our participants and me myself have come much clearer about what is it that we need to keep in mind when we're building in agri. Oh, we have a question, agri-food systems, and this one is around the role of women. Your insights into the role of women in value addition. Do you think if micro women entrepreneurs are encouraged in value chain, it shall create an ecosystem?
Yes, of course. I think that's what I said, that they're very much integral part of the system, and we cannot think without Rather, children are also part of this system. I mean, at times we kind of, um, are we educating our younger generations enough about food systems, because that is the most important aspect. And we work with ICDS, we work with the largest, we work with children who are into sports. Nutrition is such an important aspect. I think we just should not be looking at food just as food. Food is nutrition at the end of the day, and it is also directly connected with our overall well-being. So definitely, I think women. But one aspect about being an entrepreneurship and being encouraged in the value chain is that we really need to share the table equally, because it's also about understanding the business concepts behind it. It's also about understanding, for example, we work with women collectives who have been able to revolutionize ragi, for example. Ragi is a big protein food now, but then how do you really bring it to the market? Honey, which really is needed from the so we also need to be thinking about byproducts alongside the crops that we are talking about, and how do we really bring in alternate sources of income while we think about the surplus in this segment. Surplus surely is would need infrastructural investment, and that is where I think the banking segment and understanding of the economics behind it would be very important. So the question is not about men, women, it's about having the right kind of business model. Anybody can do it. And I'm not surely encouraging women only collectives or men only collectives. I think we really need to have, we are family. When we're talking about food, I think we all need to be working together, and whoever can bring whatever merit on the table. But I think special instruments would need to be designed to bring women ahead in the overall cycle. The other aspect, I think, which we missed having any conversation around, was that in most of the developed countries you'll see food banks, um, where the food comes if there's any surplus, and there are mechanisms to bring that food over there and have a system where it can go to the people who actually need it. So I think that's another area which calls in for some investment at this stage, where we can actually have food banks for people who really need this food. Because there are definitely communities who do not have all kinds of food available, and nutrition, 40% or more than 45% of malnutrition exists, irrespective of rural, urban, economically empowered or economically disadvantaged sections. 40% plus malnutrition is there in our country. Anemia is a reality. 40% plus anemia is a reality in adolescents, irrespective of the economic strata. So there is a genetic disposition also that we are talking about. There is non-availability of nutrition food that we are talking about. So it's also about really connecting the dots and having a more systemic system strengthening approach to the overall cause. And of course, it needs to be an equal opportunity both for men and women.
I think we've really overshot our time. And I think we can keep having this conversation around it, because all of us are so passionate about building in the food systems, looking at gender. So before we close, ma'am, could I please request you to deliver the closing remarks?
No, I think
Um,
we have had a lot of conversation. Thank you for inviting me over. And once again, thank you again, Government of Karnataka, Department of Horticulture, as well as, GAIN and TTC for this amazing. It's a very serious conversation. It is a very meaningful challenge. It is also a space where a lot of innovation. So I would say technology, people walk in, whatever gives us the solution, because we are talking about a extremely massive um, gap here. We are also talking about exploitation of soil and natural resources. We are also talking about poverty here, and we are also talking about layers of poverty getting added, because the future, if we do not act now and conserve now, there will be no water and no soil, and we would have ended up with surplus and wasting it. So it is a big problem statement that to which we are really looking at solutions. Congratulations to the entire Sampurn Grand Challenge team, and we surely look forward to amazing models which will provide solutions to many of these issues that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We will now move to the FAQ section. If you've been wondering about your ideas throughout the conversation, this is your time to ask questions specifically around the Innovation Challenge. Can we please have Mr. Ajay and Mr. Asim, if he's also there, join us so that we can go back to answering questions around the Innovation Challenge. I think we'll first pick up a couple of questions from the older ones that we have. The question that we have is, can I submit a solution focused on crops that are not part of the listed crop categories provided it addresses the challenge objectives and the themes?
Right. Yes, you can, and it is also encouraged. Although the Grand Challenge, there are several crops that are listed: onion, mango, banana, tomato, grapes, pomegranate, pineapple. But if your solution addresses, uh, reducing food waste post harvest on other crops, and which can be, if you feel that this can be replicated to these seven primary or focused crops, then feel free to apply. And end of the day, there's a lot of things that can there can be a cross learning across as well. So please, if you think that it is somewhere related to the seven themes that we have, uh, you can definitely apply.
The next question I see is around eligibility. It says, can students participate for this challenge?
So this is again, I mean, the idea behind Sampurna Grand Challenge was we need deployable solutions. We need solutions that can be taken to scale. And with students, there can be ideas, or it could be at an exploratory stage. That is something which uh, we would love to see, but not for the Sampurna Grand Challenge. So the it has to be a idea that has a proof of concept that has been ready to deploy.
I think with that, we come to the end of today's session. We've answered all questions that we had regarding the challenge, all questions that everyone had to Dr. Nidhi. So I think we can have the scan to apply. Thank you so much to all our participants, Dr. Nidhi, all our panelists for joining us. Again, this is a part of a series of webinars that are happening that are designed to connect innovators and young minds like all of us with folks who have spent their entire careers building on the forefront of India's agri-food systems. If you're building in the space of food systems and your solutions prevent post-harvest loss, please feel free to apply for Sampurna Grand Challenge 2026. You can scan the QR code and this will take you directly to the application page. Apply. If you have any questions, you can write to us. Our helpline number is available. We have our email IDs and we're extremely responsive on both. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. And with that, we come to the close. Thank you so much and have a lovely evening ahead. Thank you.